In the diagram below, PQTU and MRST are rhombuses. Angle Q1 is equal to angle R1. RS is 37 meters and UO is 70 meters. A, determine the length of QM. B, prove that OM is parallel to UT. And C, calculate the length of PT. In the diagram, we can see that RS is 37 meters long and that UO is 70 meters long. But the question also tells us that angle Q1 is equal to angle R1. So let's mark these angles on the diagram in blue. Now we can start with part A. Determine the length of QM. QM lies up here. Let's make it red. We know that angle Q1 is equal to angle R1, and we have just marked these angles in blue. QM lies in triangle QMR, so let's make the whole triangle red. QMR has two equal angles, which means that it's an isosceles triangle, and we can use this to help us find the length of MR. So we can say in triangle QMR, we know that angle Q1 is equal to angle R1 because this information has been given to us in the question. We know from our work with triangles that an isosceles triangle has two equal angles and two equal sides. We know that angle Q1 is equal to angle R1, which means that the length of QM is equal to the length of MR. And as our reason, we say the sides opposite equal angles. In our diagram, let's put a small blue line on MR and a small blue line on QM to show that these sides are the same length. We don't have any more information about this triangle, so let's make it black again. Now, the question tells us that MRST is a rhombus, and we can see that MR is one side of this rhombus. So let's make the whole rhombus green. We know that RS is 37 meters long, so let's make a note down here. We can say RS is equal to 37 meters. As our reason, we can say given. If RS is 37 meters long, then MR must also be 37 meters long. And as our reason, we say all sides of the rhombus are equal in length. We've already proven that QM is equal to MR. So if MR is 37 meters long, then we can see that QM is also 37 meters long. Now we can tidy up our diagram. We know that all four sides of a rhombus are equal, which means that all four sides of this particular rhombus must be 37 meters long. So let's put a blue line on RS, on TS, and on MT as well. Prove that OM is parallel to UT. Let's make OM red and UT red as well. We have said in previous videos that if you have two lines that are different sizes and you need to prove them parallel, there's a very high chance that you will need to use the midpoint theorem. So let's find the triangle that both of these lines sit on. We can see that U and O both sit on QU. So let's make this green. And we can see that M and T both sit on QT. So let's make this side green as well. Now, to use the midpoint theorem, we need to prove that O is the midpoint of QU and that M is the midpoint of QT. In part A, we've just proven that QM is equal to MT. M is the midpoint. We don't need to prove this again, so we use proven above as our reason. Now let's look at QU. QU is a diagonal of the rhombus PQTU, and we know that the diagonals bisect each other, so we can see that QO must be equal to OU. And as our reason, we say the diagonals of a rhombus bisect. Now we've proven that O is the midpoint of QU and M is the midpoint of QT. So from this, we can see that OM must be parallel to UT according to the midpoint theorem. Now let's tidy up our diagram. We can put a small arrow on OM and a small arrow on UT to show that they are parallel. Calculate the length of PT. PT is a diagonal in rhombus PQTU, so let's make it red. The only thing we know about PT at this stage is that PO is equal to OT because the diagonals of a rhombus bisect each other. If PO and OT are both half the length of PT, then PT must be twice the length of OT. So let's focus on OT for now. Let's make this section red. Now OT is part of numerous triangles. So let's see if we can use one of these triangles to find the length of OT. We already have some information about QT. So OT sits in triangle QOT. So let's make this whole triangle red. And we can say in triangle QOT. From part A, we found that QM is 37 meters long. So we can say equal to 37 meters. And we found that QM is the same length as MT. We don't have to prove this again. So as our reason, we say proven above. QT is made up of QM and MT. Both of these are 37 meters long. 37 plus 37 gives us 74 meters, which means that QT is equal to 74 meters. Instead of trying to squeeze this information into our diagram, let's make a note up here that QT is 74 meters, and now we can make some space. Now we need to look at the side QO. QO lies on QU, a diagonal of rhombus PQTU. We already know that UO is 70 meters long, so let's make a note of it over here, is equal to 70 meters. We also know that UO is equal to OQ because the diagonals of a rhombus bisect each other. From this, we can see that if UO is 70 meters long and QO is equal to UO, then QO must also be 70 meters long. Now all we need is a 90-degree angle, and we can use Pythagoras' theorem. Angle O1 and angle O2 lie in triangle QOT, and they lie between the two diagonals of the rhombus. So we know that angle O1 plus angle O2 must be equal to 90 degrees. And as our reason, we say because the diagonals of a rhombus are perpendicular, let's put a 90-degree angle into our triangle at O. Now we have a right angle triangle, so we can use Pythagoras' theorem to find the length of OT. So let's make some space and make a note up here that QO is equal to 70 meters. In triangle QOT, QT lies directly opposite the 90-degree angle. So QT is the hypotenuse. So to find the length of OT, we can say OT is equal to the length of the hypotenuse QT squared minus the length of the third side OQ squared, all under a square root. Now we can fill in our values. We know that QT is 74 meters long, so we say 74 squared minus OQ, we know it's 70 meters long, so we say 70 squared, all under a square root. Now we can take our calculator and we can say the square root of 74 squared minus 70 squared is equal to 24. This is the length of OT. But remember that this question is not asking us to find the length of OT. It's asking us to find the length of PT. We know that OT is half the length of PT. So PT is double the length of OT. So if OT is 24 meters long, we can see that PT must be double that, which means that PT is equal to 48 meters.